In this video, we're going to walk through the process of syncing the invitee no-show status from Calendly to Salesforce. Now, to do this, we're going to use a custom flow action that, under the hood, uses Calendly's API. And this custom flow action can be installed within an unmanaged package. I'll include the link in the video details. But again, since the package is unmanaged, feel free to just copy over the components and customize them however you'd like. So to get started, we're going to hop over to Salesforce. And now, before we actually go through the process of setting up the flow and the package, I first want to just give a high-level overview of how this is going to work. So right now, I've got the default create event flow that's included in the Calendly Salesforce package. And what I've done here is I've added a new scheduled path called sync no show. And what this is going to do is it's going to run 15 minutes after the event ends. And 15 minutes after the event ends, what we're going to do is we're going to check and see if the invitee was a no-show. And as I mentioned, we're going to use this custom Apex action, get invitee no-show. And this is what's included in the package I mentioned. And so it'll simply just pass in the Calendly action record. And then as an output, it will store a Boolean value, this no-show variable, and this will either be true or false, depending on whether the invitee was a no-show. And then you can see here, a simple decision element will check whether or not the invitee was indeed a no-show. And if they were a no-show, then we're just going to update the subject to no-show. But of course, you can update any of the event fields. So maybe, for example, you'd add a checkbox that says no show, and you could set that to true for reporting purposes. So that's at a high level how it's going to work. You can see in this debug version that I ran that the invitee was not a no-show. And I'm going to rerun it again now that I've marked the invitee as a no-show. And you can see now that Salesforce correctly detected that this particular invitee was a no-show and updated the event. Now, something to note here on the scheduled path is this is going to check 15 minutes after the event ends. However, your Calendly user might update it 20 minutes after the event ends, and in that case, it wouldn't be synced. So feel free to change this to whatever reoccurring schedule works best for your organization. You can also use the flow action to maybe run it, schedule it daily to just check if it was updated to no-show. But for the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to use 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to now hop over to my package manager in Salesforce. All right, so looking at the installed packages, you can see that I have the default Calendly Salesforce package installed. And now something to note is that to install this custom flow action that we just looked at, this depends on the Calendly Salesforce package. So you'll need to make sure that the Calendly Salesforce package is installed prior to installing this unmanaged package that will be linked in the video description. So after you've installed both of these packages, there's one more item we need to set up before we can start using this custom flow action. And that is going to be setting up a named credential. Now, you can see here that I already have one set up, but I'm just going to delete this real quick so we can walk through the process of setting this up. So we're going to click New Legacy. For now, this flow component uses a legacy name credential, but again, since the package is unmanaged, you can change that to be compatible with the new name credentials if you'd like. So we need to register this name credential so that Salesforce has access to our Calendly account. So we're going to create a name credential with the label Calendly. Same thing here. This is very important. The name must be Calendly. And then for the URL, I'm going to say api.calendly.com. The identity type will be named principal. And then for the protocol, we'll say password authentication. Now, the username does not matter here, so you can put whatever you'd like. I'm just going to say Calendly, but the password is important. So to get this, we're going to need to go over to our Calendly account and generate a personal access token. So to generate that token, you're going to go to your Calendly integrations page and select the API and webhooks option here. Now you can see I've already got some existing tokens created, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new one and just say Salesforce 2, copy that token, and then you'll just paste that token into this password field. And then for the callout options, we need to deselect generate authorization header and then select allow merge fields and HTTP header. And this just allows the package to use a custom header field that's compatible with Calendly's personal access tokens. Now, something to note is that this personal access token needs to be created by a Calendly admin or organization owner. And that is what will allow us to retrieve all of the invitee information. And we'll click save here. Great, so now that we've got the packages installed and the named credential created, we can start using that custom flow action that we just showed earlier. So again, I'm going to go open that flow that we walked through earlier. And to get access to this action, you'll simply just select the base action element, and then up here search get Calendly invitee no-show. And what you'll do, you can just add your label, and just like we did, pass in that record. Now, one more thing I want to talk about before we end the video is you'll see this fault path here as well. Now, because this Apex action is calling Calendly's API, there's a chance that an error could occur. And so we want to have this fault element to catch that error and not end the flow entirely. However, maybe you want to do something different if an error occurs. In that case, just make sure to connect this fault element to whatever you would like to happen in the scenario that an error occurs. Now, just to summarize the video, again, we are adding a new scheduled path that runs 15 minutes after the event ends. We are then checking to see if that invitee was a no-show and if they are updating the corresponding event. And you can ensure that you're updating the correct event by adding a condition that checks the event's invitee UUID equals that record invitee UUID. That's it for this video. If you have any questions or feedback, please add them in the comments, and thanks for watching.